Hey guys, this is John in Los Angeles with the Alpha Channel update for Thursday, October 10th, 2024. Take 2. First time the system ran out of storage space. Yggdrasil deck. Today's an interesting one. Interesting for me, in that I learned some lessons this week. Today's Haldersson's Yggdrasil deck, Gandalf, Wisdom. An expensive lesson for me that I learned this week, but at the same time, could have been a lot worse. If I didn't have anything else going for me, if I didn't have, and not that this, but if I didn't have comics, if I wasn't writing stories. Last few days I've been coloring, really just flatting some angel characters drawn by a friend of mine. Actually, the guy who did this angel character right here. And it's pretty cathartic, as I was listening to someone earlier today say. And today we are looking at Danger Girl, Volume 1, number 33. However, this printing, it's number 21. This is in Norwegian. As you can see down here at the bottom, this is number 181 of 250. This is a very special cover by Romano. This is very hard to find. I think I paid not a lot, but enough that I like it, and enough that the last three issues that we looked at, I was very frustrated with 2 of the 3. One of them was awesome, but my frustration was you can do anything in a comic book. You can do anything you want in a comic book. Here we have Lara Croft in the rain with an umbrella, ready for anything, right? Because she's Lara Croft. And of course, so that's the splash page as you get Lara Croft. Next page is she's being hunted. She's in the crosshairs. The bad guys are on her trail. It's never a dull moment when you're Lara Croft in London or Paris. She's in Paris actually, because we can see the Eiffel Tower. See, there it is in the first panel, or maybe the second panel. Lara is in Paris. This is in Norwegian, so I don't know what's going on other than I can't read the words, but you don't need the words. Body language, tone, and emphasis are all you need. You can have anything happen in a comic book. Like I said, Revival could have been centered around the blockade, and it would have been awesome. It could have been awesome. I did not fight hard enough to get into comics. I went to animation school, and comics has never been, I love comics, I've loved comics all my life, but I have never paid my dues to the traditional comic book industry. I didn't work for Rob Liefeld or for Marvel or DC, so I do not have a crowd of fans, and I'm not trying to sell you guys anything. I'm taking the long road to build my skills, build my writing skills, and now I'm out here meeting you guys, introducing myself, hopefully building a audience that when I get to about a couple thousand people, then maybe we can put something out for sale. Not yet. I have a long way to go. Now, there's something to be said for when the comics turn into a fashion show that the story gets lost. This looks like a flashback to me, you know. I don't need to be able to read it to know that she's talking to someone and telling them what happened and how she became Lara Croft. And this is awesome. This is everything a comic book needs to be. This is angels versus demons, right? This is pretty much what I'm doing. And I looked up the guy who's drawing this, Tony Daniel. This is drawn by Tony Daniel, these interiors. It's the second time I'm doing this, so it's a little more polished. Look at this is a demon, right? This is, what was the guy's name? Venger and Shadow. He's a goblin. Look at this cover. Tomb Raider Norwegian. Lara Croft. So this is how Lara Croft deals with the old witch. Last comic, no one could deal with the old lady. She ran around the whole town naked. Lara Croft handles her directly. And then gets blown out of the building. But she's still under control. The other person's not under control, but Lara Croft is. That's a controlled jump. She's using the explosion to propel her, so she'll clear the banks and land in the water. This is fucking awesome. She doesn't clear the banks. She lands in the cement. I don't need to be able to read this to know what's going on. This is why I love comics. You know, like I was saying, words are only 7%. Tone emphasis 23. Body language 67. Something like that. This was 2003. So what happened by 2013 that we got garbage like Revival? This is non-superhero, relatively independent comics. Top Cow's independent. They're certainly not Marvel or DC. I've got some more of these. I don't know what we're going to look at next. This one. This is nice. Here's one with the lettering. Here's the Danger Girl stuff. I have a bunch of it, but not the number 1. I don't know where it is. And I don't want to start with number 2 because Danger Girl really is just about the art, you know? But the story is still awesome. But there's only like 7 or 14. There's really not that many. These great ideas. So this is what I wanted to talk about today. The difference between writing for a movie and writing for a comic book. And I mean writing for a comic book to be a perpetual engine of, just keep going. A title, a name. Spider-Man has how many titles, right? Batman has how many titles? That's not just Spawn is just one that did 300, but to be something, to be bigger than the original. That's the goal, right? That's what everyone wants. That's what everyone's looking for. Because it's fun. The money's great, but what we see has happened is that these executives have written themselves into characters like Kamala Khan, right? Is that her name? Who is really just a stand-in for the CEO who created her, who wants the royalties. Why are these royalties going to old white guys? That's, so I didn't talk about this the first time I recorded this. Wealth transfer is a very real thing that they pay attention to out here in Hollywood. They do not transfer wealth outside of the community. The wealth stays in the community. It certainly doesn't go to promote white families. They're not having that anymore. So back in 2003, you could have a white-centric comic and no one would get in your face about it. It was enough that she was female, right? But now she'd have to be something else. Now this would be white supremacy. So, and who owns the IP is really important. And that's an IP that can keep going, that can G.I. Joe, right? Like companies can rent the IP. Ninja Turtles. The Crow is a hard one. The Crow is 7 issues. Johnny the Homicidal Maniac only got 7 issues. Invader Zim, I guess, could go on. The Tick became a TV show. So if a TV show is your goal, The Tick is a good sitcom, right? Converting action to a half an hour is very expensive. Think about how much that costs, right? Like a half an hour TV show, you may as well do an hour of action TV and have half as many talking scenes instead of just solid action scenes and no talking scenes. Just makes sense. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense, right? So they can sell more advertising with an hour of programming than they can with a half an hour of programming. Mr. In-Between's the only one I can think of that's a sort of an action-ish show that's a half an hour long. And it still has plenty of talking. Plenty of people get shot. You can do anything. You can do anything. Don't limit yourself. The Revival could have been just about the roadblock and still been awesome. So don't do art in desperation. It comes across as sick. That's why I was so excited to have this little crypto budget, because we were going to be able to do art in relative safety, relative security, and that's a good way to be able to evaluate something. It's a lot harder to evaluate something if you're trying to meet an arbitrary deadline because you think you're going to get paid from some crowdfunding thing. That's why I didn't do crowdfund this so long ago. We only got this to black and white, and it was a big lift. There was a lot of back and forth between me and the artist. I'm the kind of writer who can see the whole thing and gauge the emotional reaction that I'm aiming for. But when you bring in an artist who wants to be creative and wants to participate, then the track starts to shift, and suddenly what was a straightforward up and down is now making everyone seasick because it's back and forth and up and down, and so, or at least it's making the writer seasick. But when you add things that are unplanned, sometimes it's hard as a writer. You have to have an ability to let go if you're going to really let someone else do the art. And that means you have to do the story like for me, I have to do the story as a separate thing and then let it go and let someone do an artistic interpretation. And that way I can let it go. Whereas this, I drew it first and then he came in and redrew it and then added characters who went unresolved. And that was hard. As a writer, I wanted to tie up all the loose ends, right? Yeah. And then we lost the hard drive that all the colored artwork was on, and that cost $1,500 to get that back, so that took a long time. But making a movie means crushing a bigger story, a bigger character like Batman or Spider-Man, into a smaller thing. And usually trying to encapsulate it in a way that is satisfying as a single serving meal, right? Not as you got to come back to the theater in a month to see the next chapter. Whereas with a comic book, that's the goal. You want to have them come back next month to see the next chapter. And you can do that if you balance the action right. It doesn't have to be 60 pages. That's my goal, is to do these 22-page comics and find a way to put them out through crowdfunding that is both fast and lucrative, enough so that it rewards repeat, doing it repetitively. Taking 2 years for me as a novice artist, that's hard. That's going to be hard. But look at how long it's taken right now. Modern Savages, if any of you guys have seen, I started this channel, me and Jay weren't really talking much. And so I was mostly drawing. My goal was to show that my progression with the art every day. And that went away. It's almost as soon as I got the drafting table, I quit drawing. Now I'm writing all the time. So Legacy of a Mad Scientist, Legend of Ashley Fox, please check them out. Please check this out. It's really nice. Here in the description, today's card is Gandalf Wisdom. And I love comics. I love that comics can be anything. And I need to get more on it. I need to produce more for you guys faster. So I'll be back tomorrow. See ya.